That is what I usually do to sync up my video and audio. Now, it used to be that I could just sync those 3 claps which would appear in the waveform to the 3 claps appearing in the waveform of the audio recorded by my webcam, which, you know, I used to record from the webcam and also the lav mic, but unfortunately the webcam at some point just stopped recording audio at all, so I had to do it visually from that point, which is odd because whenever I try to get into Discord voice chat, the webcam audio will try to become my Discord microphone, so I know that the microphone in my webcam isn't broken. Why did I show you this? Well, seeing as it's still NaNoWriMo, and I have some issues with my internet that I will go into detail about later, I want to show you a little problem that I've been having with making my videos, which is that the audio will desync over time, and you just keep on watching. I won't edit this at all. I won't put any cuts in this, which might become a problem because the reason I use scripts and the reason I do many takes multiple times is because I have some short-term memory issues, and so I hope to be able to keep this on going. And to do that, I will tell a little spoopy ghost story. Yeah. So basically, I don't know if I finished telling the whole mic situation, but I think I did. So the internet thing, yes. Yesterday, my doorbell rings. Right, there's 2 technicians from my ISP coming by and asking me if they can go to the basement. And I said, well, I'm the only person in this whole building that does not have a key to the basement. And they were a bit irritated at that, because apparently they expected me to let them into the basement for some reason. I hadn't called them. I didn't know why they were there. I just left. Apparently they later got into the attic, which is where the actual stuff from my ISP actually is. In the basement we just have the heating and like basement cells to put shit in. Well, you probably shouldn't put actual shit in there. That's what the toilet is for. So I butchered that fucking joke. So yeah, they went in the attic, and then 2 hours later they left, and then my internet was broken. Why the fuck do technicians from the ISP come to break the internet? And of course the dispatch from the service hotline from my ISP, they didn't know shit about even people being here, because apparently their dispatch system is very, very slow. Which, if you're German and you have internet, you probably will have guessed my ISP from at this point. Because while they do provide fast services most of the time, they are utterly incompetent. All that being said, I need to make a lot of time so that you can actually see how the video desyncs from the audio. Which, you know, as I said, I have no idea what causes this. No amount of Googling ever even made it possible for me to know what causes this. I may just be very bad at Googling, so I'm really hoping that some of you people in the comments can help me out. I think I've noticed that through the symptoms of a similar problem, that Easy on Me might be having. That, you know, the channel by the I don't know, is he an Indian guy or Persian? He looks Persian. I think he's Persian. He has very Persian eyes. Yeah, the symptoms of that in some of his videos, the desyncing of the audio in places. I'm going to send this to a couple YouTube people that I know. Maybe, like, not people who work at YouTubers. Maybe they can tell me what the fuck's going on. Yeah, so the spoopy ghost story. Now, I can't, of course, say that this actually happened because it is a spoopy ghost story, but I can tell you that I experienced this, right? Just to make this clear, I am very open-minded about ghosts, but generally I am of the opinion that ghosts do not exist because I have not been provided with proper evidence that ghosts exist. So therefore, I do not believe that they do. Here, however, is the story. Now, many of you may not know that I grew up in a boys' home. Not an orphanage. I still have parents. They just don't like me. We went every year. There used to be this contest where people from this boys' home and other boys' homes would go to the Czech Republic to do something called the Adventure Cup. Now, the Adventure Cup was every group. These boys' homes were separated into groups of 10, and you would have 2 groups of 5 for each of these 2 teams of 5, really, for each of these groups, and they would then compete in a number of competitions. We had like a day of uphill cycling, rock climbing, a lot of different things that we did. And I was this was my first year in the boys' home. I was maybe 12 years old, I think. 11, 12. Should have been 12 because it was in late autumn that we did this Adventure Cup shit. Which is shit because it's all outdoorsy stuff in late autumn in the Czech Republic. So, you know. It was not very pleasant. I was in the young team. We have like 2 teams, the good team and the young team. And we actually ended up being almost dead last in that whole competition because we were just a bunch of fucking 12-year-olds. On the last day, well, actually it wasn't the last day, it was the day before the last day. The competition was that we had to do a hike to a certain point at the Elbe River. Then there would be equipment there to build a raft out of planks and some what's the thing you put on wheels? You know, English isn't my first language, which is also something that many of you might not know. English is not my first language. So it would float, right? And then we floated it over this river, and with the big ships coming at us and all that, it totally wasn't extremely dangerous at all. And then a couple kilometers downriver, we would have to get on land and then hike up in the forest. And we would have to do all of this quite quickly because in this forest there was just one relatively small camp area where if that was filled up, which it would be, because it could only host like half of the teams, we'd have to find a spot in the forest where we would then actually make camp, right? And there was like a piece of cave exploration and all that that we skipped because the weather was really poor. But the thing was, we would have to hide somewhere in this forest because at night, I think the word pedagogues sounds a bit odd in English, but I think you all know what it is. Like it's professional people who take care of children in orphanages and boys' homes and shit like that. And they're also the organizers of this event. They're basically the people who took care of my upbringing, really. Now we had to hide because the pedagogues would go around at night and steal kids from teams that weren't in this main camp. And if you were stolen from your team would lose points, right? And drop in the rankings. Now on this specific day, because the weather was so bad, they skipped the whole process. They said, no, we're not going to do it tonight, but we were already hidden. We were hidden under this it was this overhanging rock right by the path that would lead to the main camp in like 500 meters. And there was this small crevice that was filled with dead leaves, which provided quite nice padding for our sleeping bags and the mats you put under the sleeping bag so you don't lose too much heat. Which many people think that those are there to make you comfortable, but they really aren't. They're there to make sure you don't lose heat. Which is another problem we had in the boys' home at some point, where we had these extremely shitty mats for a long time. But anyway, I'm getting past of myself to a completely different and unrelated story. No, actually, this would have been the point in time where we still had that. It doesn't matter. Anyway, we slept there. We slept quite poorly because we slept in the middle of the fucking Czech forest. And cue the early morning, right? There's the forest is dripped in twilight. There's you can see quite well. You could see everything, and I got awake because I needed to have a piss, right? So as I was trying to get out of my sleeping bag, however, around the corner comes this thing. This is 3 meters tall. Completely naked, and also sexless, right? muscular. It had a very male physique and was incredibly muscular. And it didn't have a face. It was just skin here. And it was completely white. It was just pale to the point that it was just white as snow. And it just walked on this path. And it made very little sound. It stepped, even though it stepped like a normal person would, it made very little sound, and it was walking toward the direction of this of the real main camp. And it didn't look at me. I don't know if it perceived me. And it just walked past me. And I decided that I would wait maybe an hour before I actually went to piss, because I really needed to piss. And an hour later I did actually go to piss, but I didn't go back to sleep, because that shit was that shit was very, very, very scary. And I was a very scared little 12-year-old boy. Now, of course, the easiest explanation for this is I dreamt it was bullshit, and that is probably what happened. But a week later, we were back in the boys' home. We were talking, we're just sitting in the living room, the kids talking, and one of the kids from I was telling this story, right? And then one of the kids from the older team started mocking me, right? And told everyone, look at this fucking idiot, he's lying, and he was someone with a lot of social capital, and he'd never tried to bully me before, and he hasn't tried to bully me after that. But that was the point where he tried to sort of bully me into silence, which is something that you just did, right? This is something that young boys and teenagers just do. And so I shut the fuck up and all that, and everyone was laughing at me. And later that day, I was upstairs in the hall, and this boy that had told me to shut the fuck up and had bullied me approached me and pinned me against the wall. And this was a strong kid, right? He could have probably broken a few bones, right? And he got really close up in my face, and he told me, if you ever tell this fucking story to anyone ever again, I will fucking kill you. I will come for you and I will kill you. And that's what he said. So he's probably going to just bust in the door at any moment now here. And the thing is, this was very unlike him. He had threatened people before, but only because they owed him money, like a couple bucks. He was like a young loan shark. And he seemed a bit afraid, which was very odd, because he was threatening me at that point in time. So yeah, that was a weird occurrence. And obviously the obvious explanation for that is also he was just fucking with me, But he wasn't a particularly good actor. So yeah, I don't know, whatever you want to take from that. This should be the point at which my audio and video are completely desynced. Usually what I do is I just move the audio back a little bit while doing my jump cuts. Of course, I can't do this right now because I don't have any jump cuts. Yeah, and that should be good time and all that. And I'm going to stop recording now. And Jesus, this is the thing I use for my lav mic, by the way. And I'm going to hit the stop button. Thank you and good night.